Hi, my name is Megan Gidley and I'm the Director of Marketing with Connect. Welcome back to the Get Connected podcast. We're back in Millersburg, Ohio at Windy Hill Farm. We're going to be talking with Ted Diahas, the owner, about what it means to school horses and what type of horsemanship he teaches. Let's dive on in. Ted, thank you for sitting down with me again today. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
So I want to talk with you today about schooling horses. Can you give me a general overview and definition of what that means?
Well, when I refer to schooling horses, what I mean is that there's a difference between schooling a horse and maybe training a horse or riding a horse. That when you're schooling a horse, you're teaching it. A lot of people call it breaking a horse or training a horse. No, that's just not how you do it. Where I look at training more like you would train a circus animal. And I look at breaking more like just kind of brutal humiliation where he has to surrender to you or else. We don't do that. So, I've got a saying here that we must occupy a horse's mind before we occupy his back. So it's real important to, when you're working with a horse or any animal as far as that goes, that you have to earn their trust in order for them to be obedient and be obedient gladly. So any obedience obtained through forcefulness is not long-lasting. So obedience that is acquired through trust is long-lasting. So, you get into this situation where I think basic human nature is to be forceful. I spend a lot of time helping people try to understand that and also untangling a lot of messes people have made with that.
Would you say that that's the type of horsemanship that everybody should adopt?
Well, I think that more than horsemanship, I think people should adopt it in life. I think that kindness and patience and gracefulness in what we do is very important. And I don't care if you're working with horses, you're working with your fellow human beings. I see people with dogs and all kinds of animals that they're working with. Cattle, doesn't matter. Just take a nice, kind, graceful approach to things, and things usually work out a lot better.
I agree. So if we're going to start with a colt and we're going to school them, what is the process and how does it look starting?
Well, when you say the word colt, a colt is a young horse that's a male, and you have a filly, which is a female. And so, we have all different stages of that, where we'll have weanlings that are just coming off their mothers at about, 7, 8 months old, maybe 6 months old. And then you have yearlings, then you have 2-year-olds, and you have 3-year-olds. So when you start out with the young horse, usually it's right off the mother. Hopefully we can even have time to work with them while they're still on the mother. And then we wean them, and when we bring them in for weaning, we separate them from their mother and we deworm them, and we work with them on picking up their feet and learning to lead and just learning to be handled. And then normally we turn them out and just let them grow and let them mature. And then when they get about 18 months old, we bring them back in the barn and we start preparing their mind. We start getting them ready to be used, to understand what it is we're wanting to do. So we have to get them acquainted with a lot of things. And the biggest thing is just being handled, just leading in and out, going in and out of the stall, picking their feet up, just allowing us to work with them. We walk them through the wash rack, and we load them on and off the trailer, and we just get them to where they have a basic foundation of just what you would call life skills that they're going to need the rest of their life, wherever they go. So then when they get about 18 months old, we'll introduce them to the saddle. We won't ride them. If we do ride them, it might be just sit on them and just let them walk around a few steps, get used to that and get acquainted. And at a horse that age and younger, the biggest accomplishment is just make it to where they're not afraid. You know, it's almost like a lot of them are born afraid. So we have to get them over that. And so if we can get him not being afraid, I say a lot of times that most troubled horses are just afraid. We got to get them over that. So you hear people say desensitizing the horse. It's like making a zombie out of him. We don't want to do that. We want him to understand what it is we want to do. And that takes a little patience and a little effort on the human's part, which a lot of folks aren't willing to do. So then after about, they get in their 2s, 24 months old, we're not going to ride those horses hard. We might just ride them quietly. We're not going to canter them. We're going to walk, trot, stop, mount, dismount, get him really feeling good about things. And then when he turns about 3, then it's time to kind of go to work a little bit and work on some of the other things, walk, trot, canter, and the things that we're going to end up wanting to do with. But a lot of the problemed horses I see were really rushed at this stage by folks who call themselves trainers. Well, in their defense, somebody brings them a young horse and says, I'm going to leave him here for 45 days and I want you to break him. Well, they take him out there and beat the heck out of him and ride the heck out of him, force him into doing stuff he's not sure about and gets him afraid and teaches him all kinds of bad habits. And then everybody starts calling me wondering what to do. And I say, well, take your time. That's the best advice I can give anybody. And then we'll get the horses where they're ready to sell or ready to use. Really, a horse is not really ready to go to work until they're 5. Their mental and physical attributes kind of all match. They all meet at the same place at 5. And once again, most folks aren't patient enough to wait that long.
So when you talk about how long it takes to truly get through to a horse and to build trust, can you give me just one example of how you can start building trust slowly with your horse?
Every horse is different. And when I approach a horse, I look at him in his eye and I look how he's handling his ears, switching his tail, how he responds to me. And usually that tells me the story. You know, a lot of horses have been forcibly used and handled, so they don't like people. They don't trust people. Or, on the other hand, some horses have been made a fool of and made a pet, and they have no respect for you. They step all over top of you and nip at you and look at us as a substandard being. So I got to evaluate all that. So one day I'll have a pet that somebody's spoiled and soured. And next day I've got one that somebody's beat on half his life. And I have to handle all those things in a different way. So in horsemanship, what I tell people, don't bother doing anything else until you can figure all this out. You got to understand the difference between fear, apprehension, and resistance. Well, they're all 3 different things. Well, some people can't tell the difference between apprehension and fear. Well, apprehension is that horse looks at a mud puddle and he's like, well, I'm not sure if that's 3 inches deep or 3 foot deep. May I have a look? Sure. Fear is, oh, I think I'm going to drown. I don't want to go through that water. Resistance is, no, I'm not doing it. I wring my tail because I never had to do it before. because where I come from, they let me do whatever I want. So I got to handle that in many different ways. I can't punish him for being afraid. I can't reward him for being resistant. I can't correct him for being apprehensive. Now there is a long, drawn-out subject, and I spend a lot of days and time trying to help people understand that. There's a time to correct, and there's a time to punish. And you got to know how to do both properly. When I say punish, that doesn't mean take a club and beat him. That means correct him first. Then if he doesn't respond, then I'm going to punish him. Well, how do I punish? Well, maybe that's working a little harder. Maybe when I reward him, I got to learn how to reward. Well, I don't want to give him a doggone piece of candy, because the next thing you know, I want to reward him out of candy. Right? So I have to reward him by my touch, my compassion, or just letting him stand still and breathe a little bit and relax. So the problem is, most people punish when they should be correcting. They correct when they should be punishing. Or they reward when they should be doing neither. It's a problem. And I like to tell people all the time, if you want to see a good example of this, go down to Walmart at the checkout. Watch those kids come through there with their moms. They're getting punished when they should be corrected. Or they're getting rewarded when they should be getting punished. Well, guess what? She doesn't know how to punish, except beating on him and yelling at him. Well, that's not going to do any good. So I could go on and on all day about that, but we talked earlier today that most all this just comes down to you as a human learning how to communicate with an animal.
I agree 100%. I see a lot of times and hear a lot of stories where people just throw their hands up in the air. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle things correctly. And your example of the three differences between, fear, apprehension, and so on, like that was a great example to show just the confusion that's out there. So when we start with a weanling and we are schooling them, getting them ready for maturity, what should the final product look like? What are they going to look like when they're ready to go?
Well, that's a long story, and everybody's looking for something a little different. Well, you got these guys that they want racehorses. They want to win races. You got these other guys, they're a bunch of rodeo guys running around wanting to hot rod their horses about. Or you got people that want to go win blue ribbons at some show on Saturday. Well, we don't do that. What we do is take it a step further back and we apply ourselves to horsemanship. I feel that a harmonious, graceful relationship with that animal is the final reward. For that horse to be obedient gladly and to be usable for anything. Now, I'm not going to go win a race with 5 horses. I already know that. They're too slow. Well, I'm not going to go to the rodeo either because I don't want to get bucked off. And that's the final outcome to all rodeos. You do get bucked off. I don't want that to happen. So when I say traditional horsemanship or classical horsemanship, there was a time where people were really in tune with their horses and used their horses as a companion, as a workmate. And, you go back and read the old books from France and Germany and places like that. I mean, it was a graceful, harmonious thing that when they rode a horse. So when I say he needs to be in collection, that means he needs to be put together. He needs to be in harmony. His movement needs to be in harmony. His mind needs to be of sort that he wants to serve you. There's a difference between a slave and a servant. Most people treat their horses like a slave. Go win that race. Oh, you're lame. I don't need you anymore. I'm going to send you to the auction. Or, I can't make this horse win a show. He wins second place everywhere I go. I want rid of him. I don't like that talk. I don't like that. He's a good horse. He just can't win your shows. Well, so once again, I'll just get back to it's a mentality. It's a thought process, but it's an attitude of the human. Do I treat my fellow humans like servants or slaves or friends or my kind? Well, that's how I treat my horses. If I treat him like a slave, well, he only does things because he has to. If he's a servant, he does things because he wants to. That can start out how I handle that baby before he ever even weaned off his mother. If I put him in the pens down here and thump him around and push him around and treat him like cattle, pushing him around and slamming the gates on him and roughing him up, well, when he gets to be a year old, I can't catch him. Because he said, I don't like you guys. I don't trust you. And then I got to throw a lasso on him to get a halter on. No, I don't want to do that. I could take you out in my pasture right now, and there's, I don't know, 10 or 15 yearlings out there. I went out there for a walk this morning, and they all came running to see me. Walked right up to me, and I petted them. Loved every one of them. Out in the middle of a 50-acre pasture. They liked me. But I earned that.
You put in the time.
I put in the time. And I was humble enough to allow them the time and patient enough. Now, I can't say it always works that way, but most of the time it does. Every once in a while, you'll have one born that's just a born outlaw. Well, I don't know what to do about that. That's just the way it is.
Goes against the current just a little bit.
Yeah, he's just an outlaw from the day he was born.
I think the key term that you used was patience. You can give them all the time in the world, but if you're getting mad every day, that's not doing any good.
Yeah. Well, but it comes down to the condition of your heart and your ability to be humble. But also, when patience is, you got to take the time it takes. You know, I found myself this week, I was working on a piece of machinery, and that job would have been so much easier if I had the right tool, but I didn't. Well, the tool, I had to go clear down to the barn to get it. When I'm lying there beating and banging around, I'm like, nope. Got on my golf cart, rode all the way down to the barn, looked all the way through the toolboxes, and finally found that right tool. And then everything worked out fine. Well, you got to be at this for about 50 years to figure all that out sometimes. But you see, my point is that what I say is, don't be a cowboy, be a horseman. Don't be a cook, be a chef. Don't be a log cutter, be a lumberman. Be a timberman. Don't be a salesman, be a businessman. It's a big difference in all that.
A big difference that a lot of times people don't take the time to realize or look into it.
Just be patient. And, I don't care if you're frying your egg in the morning. Try to do it the best you can. Might take a little extra time. Do it right.
It's good advice to live by in general.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sitting down with me and talking about schooling horses. I'm excited to hear more in future podcasts, Ted.
Well, horsemanship is a journey. And I want to we'll finish up our little talk with that, is that nobody's got it figured out entirely. And most of the guys that did have it figured out, they've already passed away. And all we can do is try to maintain and preserve their knowledge. We get up every morning around here like we're going to school. We're learning every day. And I've always said that when you get to the point where the horses start teaching you, then you're an operator. Then things are going to start happening.
Trains them and more. We're going to redo that. Why did I do that again? falling back. No more nibbling on me. Ooh, got you. Is he being sneaky? Yes, he is. Whoa, hey guys. Thanks for tuning in to another Get Connected podcast. Make sure you stay tuned to our Facebook page and YouTube channel for more podcasts with this farm. Thank you for watching and have a great week.